How they pretend to be Christian while doing the exact opposite of what Jesus would do in every situation. Also, we are so focused on women, people, getting pregnant and having babies that we take away their bodily autonomy and try to restrict birth control, but then we don't provide maternity leave, pay in some situations, or childcare benefits, so mom has to go to work to pay for food and childcare. But then when she can't afford the childcare and has to stay home, we also don't want to give her SNAP benefits or free lunches for the kid, because then she's leeching off the system. You guys, I just can't with this backwardist country and their hatred for women and mothers in particular. Sorry for the run-on sentence, but it irks the piss out of me. Guilt is put on the consumer, not the corporations. The customer has to tip because servers don't make a livable wage. The customer has to recycle and watch their carbon footprint because the environment is deteriorating. The customer has to eat better because cows are being slaughtered and chickens are trapped in cages. 100% of the world's problems are caused by giant corporations, not the average person. We're fine with whatever level of violence and gore you want to put on TV, as long as there aren't any female nipples showing. As an outsider, UK, I think all the right-wing Christians are weird as feck. I'm from America, but I think our pharmaceutical ads are really fecking weird and annoying. We make the most dim-witted people among us our leaders. Celebrating a holiday to give thanks for the things in life you already have, and then the next day, fighting people over a new appliance for a 25% discount. The number of people who are willing to blindly vote for a candidate that obviously does not have their best interests in mind. Gun culture and the Second Amendment. For a country built off the backs of slaves and immigrants, there is so much hatred toward immigrants. Health insurance, yet we still have crappy health care. $591 a month. What the feck? That's more than my car payment and insurance. In all things, money before people. Tipping for everything, for the smallest things, for people simply doing their jobs. Being puritanical about sexual themes but glorifying violence in media. Being able to fight and die for your country before being allowed to purchase and drink a beer. I hate alcohol, and I didn't serve, but still, this is pretty silly, and I think it actually contributes to alcoholism by making it taboo, and therefore cool, in your teen years. From a foreign perspective, guns. Every country has them, but it seems like a religion in the US. Absurd costs for medications and even routine doctor visits. Everyone just shrugs, like paying $600 for a 30-day supply of pills is normal. People bitch about roads being bad, schools being bad, etc., but then vote down levies to fund them. Also, wanting everyone to have decent healthcare coverage that doesn't cost a fortune somehow makes you an evil communist. The poor are obese. In most other countries, when you see abject poverty, you can see people starving with their ribs poking out. That showing blood and gore to children is simply entertainment, but a woman's breast is taboo. We shoot ourselves in the foot with who we elect, acting like we're free when it's really just a corporate tyranny and not democracy. Making 14-year-olds famous actors and singers, and if they're girls, immediately sexualizing them. How we have such a stigma around sex and can't show nudity on TV, yet there's this total acceptance of brutal violence. My fiance is Dutch, and the relationship with sex in the Netherlands seems so much more open and healthy, whereas they aren't as desensitized to violence. Makes much more sense to me. Infant male circumcision. Only 30% of males are circumcised on the planet. The vast majority of that percentage is religious circumcision. Most of the rest is tribal practices. America is this sole weird country that, on a large scale, just randomly does it, and no one can really say why. I remember when I was a kid and learned that the penis naturally comes with a foreskin, and all the penises I've seen in my life were operated on. It felt like my own country was this weird foreign place I no longer understood. Tipping. America is one of the only countries where tipping a large percentage of a bill at a restaurant is not only accepted, but if you don't tip the waiter around 20% or whatever, you'll get shamed for it. And even beyond that, tipping is now starting to creep into, for example, tip jars at pickup counters where there's no wait staff, and tip jars at some retail outlets and such. It's a weird, uniquely American custom that, as I recall, started around the Great Depression with rich patrons tipping waitstaff to get seats or food more quickly. Then the restaurant owners realized they could get away with paying the waiters next to nothing and letting them live primarily on tips. And ever since then, there's been a constant assumption in the US that whatever you get charged on the menu, you just add the 20% or so to what you pay. It started as a total scam to underpay employees and employees to avoid paying taxes on cash tips, and it just continues mainly due to social inertia to this day. The temporarily down-on-your-luck millionaire mindset that allows people to politically support millionaire and billionaire politicians who do not represent their interests. More like, we're all one hospital visit away by cause of a serious accident to being millions in debt. The fact Americans forget how freaking huge and populated America is, which means living in different areas and states can mean a completely different lifestyle, cultures, priorities, and issues, but no one wants to think about that when they can't figure out why they have different viewpoints. Also, how they exaggerate opposing viewpoints instead of just being realistic. But I think that's human nature, not USA. American here. Americans who despise everything about America. Somehow we are the most racist, misogynist, terrible poverty-hating nation in the world, whose human rights have not improved since bad thing example from 100 years ago. This opinion being largely held by middle-class white people. What you do as profession being a personality or making it a big deal. Our pride of self-independence, or faux self-independence really, other cultures create meaning together, are more willing to help others. US Americans are highly competitive and believe in making your own meaning, probably hence acting like your job is a way bigger deal than it is, or getting lost in work to not have to examine your life. Our views on masculinity. There is a lot of research that guilt is largely US American. And finger-pointing, probably both going back to our independence. Something either has to be our fault and burden, or squarely aimed at someone else, is accepting the totality of life and relationships and circumstances. Being anti-American. I'm not saying you need to tattoo the flag on your calf or ride a bald eagle to work or anything. But a lot of Americans lately are so anti-American, they're basically foaming at the mouth for their own country to fail. I can't understand that viewpoint. I want the country to improve, and I think it can. But I also acknowledge that currently it's still a pretty damn good place to live despite its flaws. I don't know, I just don't understand that pessimistic view. It doesn't help anything or anyone to wish failure on a nation you're part of. Millions are trying to get here right now to make their lives better. Check your privilege.